Deep within the monolithic granite cliffs of eastern India lie hidden ancient chambers where the smoothness of the polished walls reflects lantern light like a real mirror. The sound born inside these chambers does not fade instantly. It lives for almost a minute, filling the cave with a dense hum from the very depths of the stone. How did the craftsmen of the 3rd century BCE achieve such precision? Armed with only copper chisels, stone hammers, and human perseverance. Bihar State, Jehanabad District, the Barabar Granite Hills. 7 artificial caves carved into solid monoliths whose geological age exceeds 2 billion years. The most famous cave of the complex is Lomas Rishi. Its vault resembles a wooden hut transferred into solid stone, with almost blueprint-like neatness of lines and shapes. Nearby are Sudama, Karna Chapa, and Visva Zopri. Inside are long halls, circular dome-shaped rooms, and perfectly vertical walls polished to a mirror shine. Above the entrance to Gopika is an ancient Brahmi inscription. It indicates the name of the commissioner, Emperor Ashoka, Mauryan era, around 261 BCE. According to the official version, the caves were carved for the ascetics of the Ajivika school, secluded granite cells for meditation, detachment from the world, and long practices of silence. Archaeologists believe the work took decades. Guilds of stonemasons removed layer after layer, bringing the surface to a mirror-like state using abrasives and sand. It sounds logical, but this is exactly where the strangeness begins, which is hard to explain with the tools of the era, known to us from other monuments of the same period. Barabar granite is one of the hardest rocks on the planet. Its hardness on the Mohs scale reaches 7, higher than hardened steel. A copper chisel leaves a mark on such a surface, but quickly blunts. To remove multi-ton volumes of rock requires an unimaginable amount of tools and man-hours. And yet, the Sudama Hall is carved entirely within the monolith, a rectangular room transitioning into a hemispherical dome without a single seam or joint. Modern engineers who have examined the caves record wall deviations from the vertical in mere millimeters. For manual work on granite, this is an almost unbelievable metric. The polishing is another matter. The surface reflects contours, faces, and candle flames. Under a lantern, highlights glide across the granite as if over polished metal or thick glass. Such granite processing nowadays is done with a diamond grinding wheel, laser levels for plane control, and industrial CNC, computer numerical control, machines. The official explanation relies on prolonged friction with sand, quartz, and corundum. Technically possible, but it requires precise control of pressure, angle, and processing time. Experiments conducted by Indian restorers on individual samples have shown even a small fragment of granite takes weeks of painstaking manual polishing to reach a mirror finish. Yet inside Barabar, tens of square meters of walls, ceilings, and vaults are covered with such polishing, without losing geometry, without waves, without visible defects. The second phenomenon of Barabar is the acoustics. In the Karna Chapa Hall, a simple hand clap turns into a long, multi-stage echo resembling the hum of an organ pipe. The sound wave reflects off the curved walls and dome, returns to the center of the hall, and travels back to the surface, losing energy very slowly. British engineer William Hunter wrote back in the 19th century about the Barabar Caves as chambers with an unnatural echo, unlike any other. Modern acousticians have measured the reverberation time inside the complex's granite halls. According to some studies, it exceeds the values of many famous European concert halls. A natural question arises. Was such powerful acoustics a byproduct of the room's shape? Or was it initially designed as a useful feature, understood by the builders? Supporters of the alternative hypothesis pay special attention to the combination of precise geometry, mirror polishing, and acoustic resonance as a single, deliberate engineering design. According to one version, these are not just hermit cells, but acoustic chambers of unknown purpose, possibly used for sound and vibration practices. This hypothesis is unproven, but it explains why such complex parameters were maintained right here in granite, rather than in more pliable limestone. Parallels can be found far beyond India. In Egypt, the massive granite sarcophagi of the Serapeum at Saqqara are processed with a very similar level of surface precision. British engineer and researcher Christopher Dunn, who personally studied the Serapeum, claimed that the surface deviations there are comparable to the tolerances of modern mechanical engineering. Similar comparisons are applied to Barabar. Authors of alternative interpretations note, the marks on the granite resemble not chisel strikes, but the passes of a cutting tool. In some areas, parallel grooves are visible, as if left by a circular saw or milling cutter. Officially, these are considered traces of abrasive grinding and time. Inside the Lomas Rishi Hall, the ceiling is carved in the shape of an arch, echoing wooden cabins. Each beam is reproduced in granite with millimeter precision. Why transfer elements of wooden architecture into the hardest stone, requiring colossal labor, if a wooden hut could be built in days? The official answer is symbolism. This was a way to fix the sanctity and longevity of the ascetic dwelling in granite. The alternative answer is a demonstration of technical capabilities unavailable to other contemporaries. The Mauryan era indeed knew advanced metallurgy. The famous Iron Pillar of Delhi, which has stood for a millennium and a half almost without corrosion, belongs to this tradition. But the pillar is casting and forging. Barabar is carving in granite with a precision that cannot be explained by the level of known tools of that era. Archaeologists point out the absence of finds in the caves. No tool fragments, no traces of workshops, no abandoned blanks, and no characteristic stone debris. Where did the craftsmen work? Where was the chipped-off rock stored? Where were new generations of granite carvers trained? These traces have not yet been found around the Barabar Hills. This does not prove a hidden history, but it highlights a curious discrepancy between the massive scale of the structure and the almost complete absence of the builder's own material infrastructure. Proponents of the antediluvian civilization hypothesis go further. They suggest that Ashoka did not build the caves from scratch, but merely used ready-made chambers. According to this version, the inscriptions on the walls are later dedications, applied over already existing halls, whose origins go back to an era before the known history of India. The opposing argument is simple. All inscriptions date back to the 3rd century BCE. No other layers of processing or overlapping eras have been recorded. Nevertheless, the question remains open. This detail has spawned alternative interpretations, especially among researchers working at the intersection of engineering and archaeology. In 1958, British director David Lean filmed scenes for A Passage to India in Barabar. The crew noted a strange density of sound inside the halls. The light from the lamps spread across the granite walls unnaturally evenly without revealing the stone's texture. On film, the surface looked not like rock, but like polished metal. This visual effect still misleads visitors today. Many, touching the wall, are surprised to find that under their palm is indeed granite, not steel. What are we really seeing before us? A monument of an ancient ascetic tradition, brought to perfection by decades of manual polishing by entire generations of devoted craftsmen? Or a fragment of a technological legacy whose origins run deeper than the official timeline, and whose function might have differed from our conventional concept of a cell? Official history gives a clear answer. This is the work of Mauryan artisans commissioned by Ashoka and his successor Dasharatha, mentioned in the Nagarjuna inscriptions. Engineering logic asks a counter-question. How was this work physically accomplished within the specified time frame, with the specified tools, on the specified rock? Between the two answers lies a space of hypotheses, and the Barabar Caves remain one of the most inconvenient spots on the map of ancient Indian architecture. They do not scream of a mystery. They simply stand in the granite hills of Bihar, reflecting light, holding sound, and keeping the silence of their true age. Today, they are measured with laser scanners, photographed with macro lenses, and modeled in 3D software. The more precise the measurements, the louder the main question sounds within. What exactly did the craftsmen of ancient India create in the 3rd century BCE? A place for prayer, or a tool whose purpose we do not yet understand?